Hello! Access control systems have long surpassed the basic tasks of managing entry points and are now used not only in industrial enterprises, where security is paramount, but also in a variety of other facilities across different sectors. One of the striking examples is residential complexes, where intercom systems have long been used to successfully perform access control functions. At the same time, it has a number of drawbacks such as administrative complexity, limited logging capabilities for entries, and the ability to send them to external systems for collecting relevant analytics. Combining classic access systems with intercom solutions largely helps to mitigate such problems. However, before we move on to the main topic of this video, let's take a closer look at the subject. There are many types of intercoms. By the number of subscribers, there are single subscriber and multi-subscriber intercoms, and by operation, they are divided into video intercoms and audio intercoms. For convenience, all such devices can be divided into two large groups: analog intercom systems for organizing communication between guests and residents, and IP intercoms, where video transmission and control are carried out over a local network or the internet. Analog intercoms do not imply the functionality of an access control system. That is, they superficially restrict access to apartment buildings for residents and guests without event logging or covering any internal access points. IP intercom is more functional. Such systems typically have a database for event logging, applications for streaming video from cameras to intercom panels, and capabilities for integration into higher-level systems. Integrating intercom systems into access control systems not only ensures controlled guest access to multi-apartment residential complexes, but also restricts access to several internal areas within the premises, thereby creating a unified information space. For example, to the parking lot or the area for storing valuable materials, if it concerns not only guests or residents, but also contractors from service organizations. In this video, we will examine the basIP intercom system integrated into Sigur. The architectural integration is structured as follows. The intercom panel is installed at the access point and connected via the IP network to the Sigur server. The Sigur server, in turn, sends to the intercom's memory all employees who have access to the entry point. The intercom makes access decisions and sends all events to the Sigur server in real time. Now let's talk about the integration possibilities. It allows connecting the basIP intercom to the Sigur system as an independent access point, automatically synchronizing employees and pass numbers in the intercom's memory, and identifying employees on the intercom by card or PIN code. Receive images from the IP camera built into the intercom panel, if available. Receive registered passage events in real time. It is worth noting that when building projects based on Sigur, there is a technical possibility to integrate MR100 series readers into the basIP IP intercom panel, for example, to organize access via smartphone. This can also be implemented without using our proprietary Sigur application, thanks to the provision of the Sigur SDK to our own readers. It allows you to develop your own application or integrate the mobile access function into an existing one. For more detailed information, please visit our official website via the link below the video. As part of the integration, the lock control function is also assigned to the intercom panel, as it serves as an independent access point. In other words, the lock and other peripheral equipment are connected directly to the intercom, according to the manufacturer's instructions, and do not require the use of a controller. For the correct operation of the integration of Sigur with basIP intercoms, it is necessary to meet the minimum system requirements. The version of the Sigur integration service with basIP intercom panels must be 1.0 or higher. The Windows or Linux operating system must meet the requirements described in the Sigur Administrator's Guide, available on our official website and via the link below the video. A license is required for each intercom connected to the system. An equally important issue is the selection of a specific intercom model that can be connected to Sigur as part of the integration. Here, it is important to pay attention to two parameters: the firmware version of the intercom panel itself and the API version for integration. The current list of tested devices, as well as information on the compatibility of all firmware and API versions with Sigur software, can be found on our official website via the link below the video. Now let's talk about the integration settings and start with the intercom system itself. As part of the integration, the basIP call panel is connected to the local network and has a default IP address, which can be found in the documentation for the specific intercom model. Note that if the IP address of the panel was changed during operation, you can use the special utility remote upgrade tool for the initial search of the call panel, determining its current IP parameters or firmware update. The download link for the available documentation is on our official website and the manufacturer's website. To configure the call panel through the web interface, you need to connect to it via any browser. The panel must be in the same network segment as the computer server from which the configuration is planned. I would like to point out that on the first page of the web interface, you can see the firmware version of the call panel. If the device's firmware version differs from the listed system requirements for integration, you need to take a few simple steps to update it. To start, download the required firmware version from the manufacturer's website and open the firmware file in the remote upgrade tool using the select button. Then check the auto reboot checkbox in the settings menu and ensure it is enabled. Select the intercom panel from the list and click the upgrade button. You can also manually enter the IP address of the intercom panel in the IP field if the panel is not listed in the table. After the firmware update and the intercom panel reboot, you can log back into the web interface. To change the network settings in the web interface on the Network tab, you need to uncheck the DHCP checkbox. Here, set the desired IP parameters for the intercom panel and apply the settings. The built-in reader of the intercom panel can be configured separately through the special mobile app basIP UK config. You can clarify the functionality of the reader and the setup process with the manufacturer. With the intercom system setup complete, you can proceed to the integration settings on the Sigur side. First, ensure that the Sigur software version meets the system requirements for integration and that you have a license to use the intercom panel within the system. This can be done in the client program. You can check the software version in the Help menu under About and the license availability in the File menu under Module Management. Additionally, in the client program, you can also verify the software version by navigating to the Help menu and selecting About. Furthermore, the license availability can be checked in the File menu under Module Management. For the integration to work, a special service is required, installed separately. Download it from our website using the link below. The archive needs to be unpacked into the server directory located in the Sigur software installation folder. The server directory should contain a basIP web directory, which includes all the necessary components for the integration service to work. The connection settings, Sigur server address, and port for intercom interaction are contained in the configuration file, service, in the config directory. After unpacking the files according to the instructions, you need to restart the server module in the server management program by pressing the Stop and Start buttons. Now you can proceed to the main integration settings and configure the intercom as a standalone access point. To do this, in the client program, go to the File menu, Settings, basIP, and fill in all the parameters. The IP address of the service application, the IP address of the Sigur server hosting the basIP web intercoms, the port number of the service application. The value must match the port specified in the service file in the directory of the installed integration service. If the default port is occupied by other applications, you need to specify the number of another available port, both in the configuration file and in the software settings. NTP server address. This is the address of the real-time clock server located on the internet, or a custom one if a closed network is used. It is necessary for synchronizing the server time and the intercom panel time. Here you will also find the Rewrite Device Memory button, which allows you to forcibly rewrite all data in the memory of the connected intercom panels. It is important to note that if you are using a local network, you need to create the NTP server yourself. The Sigur server cannot act as an NTP server. If an NTP server is not specified, it may eventually lead to incorrect integration operation. Now you can proceed to add the integrated intercom panel to Sigur. To do this, in the client program, go to the Equipment tab and create a new access point by clicking the plus button. Now let's set the necessary access point parameters. Name BAS. basIP Intercom Communication Interface. IP and device address. Login and password for the basIP device user. Important, the user must have administrator rights on the intercom panel. In my case, this user is admin. After establishing a connection with the basIP access point, the event Successful Authorization in the web interface should appear on the Monitoring tab. Now let's move on to the stage of synchronizing personnel data from Sigur to basIP. To upload employee information into the memory of the intercom panel, you need to assign the employee an access card number or a special type of pass, the PIN code, in the Personnel tab, and grant the employee access to the basIP access point. To grant personnel access, you can click the Access button in the Equipment tab and select the employee who will be allowed to pass through the basIP access point. In the Access Rights Editing menu, move the necessary records to the right side of the window using the special button or by double-clicking on the record. Then apply the settings by clicking the OK button. When synchronizing the personnel list, each employee on the basIP side is assigned a cyclic access schedule. These schedules are created automatically based on the time intervals of access permissions for the entry mode linked to the employee and the basIP access point in Sigur. At this point, the main integration settings are complete and you can test its operation. Present a valid card to the panel reader. The device successfully identified the person and opened the access point for entry. When an invalid card is presented to the reader, access is denied. The access point remains closed. All events are displayed in real time on the device screen and in the client program under the Monitoring tab. It is worth discussing two additional features separately within the integration when working with intercom panels: the use of PIN codes to grant access, and the connection of built-in IP cameras in the panel for additional video recording of events. Let's start with PIN codes. To assign a code to an employee, you need to go to Client Program and select the required account card in Personnel tab. Then, create a new pass by clicking the plus button next to Pass Parameter. In the drop-down menu, simply select the PIN code type and just enter the desired value, like for example 3.1.2.1. And click the Apply button. It is important to note that PIN codes will be synchronized into the memory of the intercom panel, just like access card numbers, so it is recommended to check with the equipment manufacturer for the maximum allowable number of PIN codes in the intercom panel's memory. To check the function, let's try to authenticate on the panel using a PIN code. First, on the panel's keyboard, press the hash button to activate the PIN code input field. Then we enter the PIN code assigned to the employee. After entering the PIN code, press the hash button again to complete the operation. The device recognized the valid PIN code and opened the access point for entry. All events are logged in real time in the Observation tab of the Client program. Now let's talk about connecting the IP camera built into the intercom panel to Sigur. To do this, go to the File menu, Settings, Video Surveillance in the Client program. Here, you simply need to add a new surveillance server by clicking the plus button. Then you can easily and specifically mention the server type, IP camera. Next, you need to specify the RTSP stream address, a special address through which the network-connected IP camera streams real-time video. As a rule, the manufacturer provides a standard link to the video stream from the device in the manual. In our case, basIP provided an example of such a link, which needs to be manually filled with the necessary parameters. At the beginning of the link is the protocol by which we will receive the image from the camera. In the link, enter username.password, admin123456, login. The password for accessing the RTSP stream is specified and can be changed in the Device Settings section on the Intercom Panel tab of the basIP web interface. Then, you need to specify the IP address assigned to the intercom panel in the following video. Immediately after the device's IP address, you need to specify the port through a colon, which Sigur will use to access the camera. By default, it is 8.5.5.4. After which we specify the camera channel number through a slash, in our case the first channel. After specifying the link to the camera stream, you can optionally set the necessary parameters, such as various settings for recording archival footage. Click Apply and OK to save the settings. After adding the RTSP stream details in Sigur, you can link the camera to the basIP access point in the Equipment tab, as well as display live video from the camera on the monitoring view or the site plan. We provide more details on setting up monitoring views and floor plans in separate videos. To simply connect the camera to the access point, you need to go to the Equipment tab in the Client program and select the desired access point. After that, go to the Video Surveillance tab on the right side of the window and select the appropriate camera in the desired direction. I will set up the camera at the entrance. The setup for receiving the video stream from the IP camera built into the intercom is now complete, and you can check its operation. Let's open the standard view of the Surveillance tab: Video, Photo, and List. Swipe a valid card at the reader to register the passage. In addition to registering the event, live video from the IP camera embedded in the intercom panel is now being streamed from the access point. Utilize the integration capabilities to solve business tasks with Sigur. That's all from me. See you next time.